Namaste, Amarjit ji. I was listening to you, fascinated to see who's going to be that person. I'm very honored and humbled with your kind introduction. It's really a joy and an honor to be connected again with all these illustrious leaders and teachers and knowers of reality. And it seems there is a theme that is happening this year about the connectedness, the source, the roots of the tree that enliven all the aspects, the roots that are actually hidden. They are hidden below the ground. They're not hiding themselves. And yet they are the source of the nourishment of all the different values that we experience on the surface value, be it the leaves, the flowers that the tree bears, the trunk, the branches, the fruits. They have different realities, but they are all nourished by the same roots. And in that same way, all these different values of the surface that we see as different people, different cultures, different races, different even aspects of nature, such as animals, trees, water, air, humans, they are really based on one very powerful source of reality that yoga gives us access to. And the source of reality has been often thought to be some material energy, physical material energy. And the scientists have been diving into the reality of all that there is. And they have discovered that everything is ultimately made out of energy fields. These energy fields and energy forces are very real physics kind of understanding and discovery. We go from the molecules to the atoms to the elementary particles. From the elementary particles, we find they are excitations of energy fields and forces, electricity, magnetism, weak force, strong force, gravitational fields. And as scientists kept diving deeper into the reality of nature, they discovered that these forces of energy and matter are more and more unified. So we don't talk anymore about electricity and magnetism. We say the electromagnetic field. And now we have the electroweak field. And Nobel Prizes have been given to those scientists who discovered more and more unity in nature, as now nature takes us to foresee the possibility of one unified field of natural law that the greatest physicists of the world, such as Planck and Schrödinger and others, have actually said they are more like mind, more like consciousness. And this is where the source of everything is. One unbounded ocean of pure consciousness, Sat Chit Ananda. And it is from that field of pure being that all that we see as material, as surface value, as differences emerge. And the solution to all the problems and all the questions that we can raise lies in connecting back with that source of all that there is. That is a reality, which is the unity value, which is the true value of all what there is, which means of myself, of yourself, of the trees, of the planet, of the universe. They all emanate from this one unified field of natural law, which the ancient Vedic science has described as a field of pure being, a field of pure consciousness, pure awareness. That is a field of truth, Sat Chit Ananda, pure consciousness, and its nature is bliss. And where is that field? It is us, it is within us, it is who we are. And therefore, as human beings, we do have a privilege. We do have something special about us. And what is special about us is not to dominate and control and take over. What's special about us is that we can nourish. We can go to the field. We can experience that field. We can transcend from the surface value and let the mind settle down and experience the field of pure being, which is the source of all reality, the source of all that there is. And that is our own consciousness, our own awareness. Human beings have that potential. And the ancient Vedic knowledge and yoga in particular, we are talking about today, but it includes all the systems of Gandharva Veda, music, Ayurveda, health, food, diet, herbs, all practices, different approaches that structure our nervous system, structure our physiology, and make it align itself with its original nature so that the mind settles down and experiences that field. If you want to experience it directly, also the Veda gives us a technology, and that is the supreme yoga. There is the yoga of the body, by aligning yourself in certain postures. What do these postures do actually? Of course, they help the body, they can help different diseases, different situations, but ultimately what they are doing is creating that unity between mind and body and environment and the spiritual aspect of reality on the basis of consciousness, awareness. Without consciousness, we cannot dream, we cannot plan, we cannot understand. Without consciousness, as if we are in anesthesia or in coma, what does it matter to us to be healthy or to be wealthy or to have all the riches of the world if we are not conscious? And we can be conscious of the total reality of life when our mind settles down, such as brought to light by transcendental meditation, which has been proven scientifically to improve all aspects of life, individually, personally, as well as socially, and transform society in the direction of less conflict, less crime, more peace between nations. And these have been studied scientifically. So what we need is to solve all the issues that we have, Amarjit Ji and great leaders of today, assembled today, to whom I give you all my respects and pranam. We need to raise consciousness. We need to raise awareness. When people understand what is the good for themselves, what is the good for their societies, what brings the health bills down, what protects people from behavior that is not right, what allows them to make the right choices, it is their consciousness, it is their awareness. If they are stressed and limited in their awareness, short-sighted, they'll make short-sighted decisions. They think it's to their advantage, they think they are protecting their people from such techniques and such measures, but this is only because they don't know. Their awareness is not open enough. So how do we increase awareness? Of course, through information, through discussion, through giving logic, through scientific research to prove what works, what doesn't work. You know, if this, whatever you call this, beer yoga, whatever, if it works, let it be subjected to scientific research. Let it show its evidence. So what we need is that which has been withstanding the test of time through traditions that are very ancient and established. And if there are new inventions, why not? They have to withstand the test of science, this test of rigorous investigation. And then we know what works, what doesn't work. And then we create something that is on the highest standard for the benefit of mankind. All of this requires raising consciousness so that we don't act on the basis of fear, we don't act on the basis of small considerations, but on the basis of enjoying life in its fullness, as one unified field of all possibilities where all differences can grow, can blossom, can be as different as they want to be, yet on the same basis of one unbounded ocean of consciousness, which is within us, which is within everything that we see, including the planets, the stars, the stones, the trees, the houses, the animals, as well as ourselves. And that is Supreme Yoga. Supreme Yoga, as Yoga says it by itself, as Patanjali defines it from the very beginning, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga is the settling of the mind and the settling of the excitations of the mind. And that is transcending, going beyond the surface value. So you go back to yourself as if you're going away from things, but you're actually going to source of everything, which is within yourself. And that is Supreme Yoga. Of course, food, diet, postures, they facilitate this, but the direct experience is also very important. And when consciousness is open, then the vision is broad. The possibilities that are hidden now become available. The solution comes. The solutions and the understanding comes actually spontaneously. We become connected with our environment. We become connected with our neighbor. We become connected with the other nation. We become connected with the water and the air and the sun. And we become connected with truth and reality on the spiritual level. Develop consciousness, raise consciousness, open the awareness. That is something possible, and it can be done with the technologies that Veda and yoga offer to us. And we wish that this beautiful, beautiful undertaking gets enlivened, accepted, understood by all nations, and not only, as has been said, one day, but by the continuing efforts of such great leaders that we have today connected with us. And great thanks to them and to you, Amarjit Ji, Sri Amarjit Ji, for inviting me and honoring us all to be together on this beautiful path of creating a life on earth that is really worth to be a life of fullness and wholeness, which is the birthright of everyone. Jai Gurudev, Namaskar.
Extremely grateful, Dr. Tony Nadar. So wonderful. We have a little bit more time. If there's any scope of your thoughts that you want to expand on, we have, with your blessings, we have, about 450 visitors on this platform. So I'm sure if we had this opportunity of ask questions, there would be many questions that would be firing in. But could you kindly enlighten, little pieces of dirt like me who are at the mercy of your feet? So how do we raise children in the sense of consciousness?
Know thyself has been a saying that all the wise people have said. Know thyself. But know thyself has been interpreted as know your qualities, know your shortcomings, so that you can know what you can do and what you cannot do. The true wisdom of know thyself is to know that you are infinity, that you know you are infinite pure being, that you are pure consciousness, pure existence, that you are the unified field of natural law, that you are in essence divine in so many ways. And that is the reality. But knowing this only intellectually leaves us with questions, because we see our limitations, we see the difficulties we feel in life. And the mind, whenever it's exposed to stress and strain, gets narrow in its perspective. It doesn't see anymore because it's trying to fight or fly away or run away. It becomes so narrow in its understanding. What we need is to remove the stresses and the strains and to keep the individual in touch with themselves. And that is the simple technique of transcendental meditation, which is the supreme level of yoga as described by Patanjali in the second chapter of the Yoga Sutras in the Sadhana Pad in the 29th verse, where he describes the Ashtanga Yoga, the 8 limbs of yoga. And they are Yam, Niyam, Asanas, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyan, Samadhi, which includes all the techniques of asanas, posture, breathing, proper behavior, etc. But it ends up with the supreme level, which is called Samadhi. And Samadhi is where the whole thing is achieved. The whole reality of yoga, where the mind settles down and the excitations and vibrations of the mind settle down into pure consciousness. And that happens with transcendental meditation. You close the eyes, you sit comfortably, and you allow the mind to settle down through a very simple technique. So even children from very young age, they can practice this technique and this way stay in touch with themselves. When they stay in touch with themselves, they are no more subject to situations and circumstances on the outside in the same way, because they have a platform of inner being that allows them to be quiet and alert at the same time, very settled and awake at the same time, and to handle the situation with the full use of their total brain potential. When I said this should be scientific and evidence-based, that is what it is, because when people practice this technique of transcendental meditation, for example, we have seen that there is an increase in coherence in the nervous system between right and left, front and back, and all the channels that have been dormant open up. And this is how we have seen greater creativity, greater intelligence, greater capacity to see without prejudice, to see with openness, to see with understanding. So there is this level which should be the platform on which then education can happen. Because if education is only about information and intellectual analysis, while the person is stressed and strained, then the person cannot have a broad perspective. The person can see only through the window of the colored glasses that they are wearing. And if they are wearing a yellow glasses, everything will look yellow, and you can't argue with them because they see yellow. So intellectual argument is not sufficient. What is needed is to clean up the system from stresses and deep-rooted strains and issues. And that is what happens naturally through the yoga program of transcendental meditation, which cleans up the system and allows it to function in the most effective way.
Yes, that's really wonderful. I had